are watching Well Traveled Life, and thank you for being here. I'm Jennifer, and I have Daniel Edward with me today.
If you've watched our other videos in this series with Daniel, you know he's well-educated, well-spoken, and a lot of fun. Today, we're going to explore some of that fun side. Let's learn a little bit about where Daniel came from and where he's going. With advanced degrees from politics, sociology, and psychology from Cambridge University, Daniel also has a website and YouTube channel called Psychology Unlocked with over 1 million views and 16,000 subscribers.
Daniel is a fellow traveler, but not just a traveler, he is a travel writer. He is also the cruise and travel director on the Nordam for a significant portion of our trip through Australia and New Zealand. His travel writing, which is in London for the
City AM paper and World of Cruising magazine.
Daniel lives on board at least 4 months out of each year in his role as a cruise and travel director. Because he's so interested in art, music, poetry, writing, painting, and drawing, we wondered how he's able to manage those hobbies and find those outlets while he's living on a ship with limited resources and limited space.
on board. What are your creative outlets here?
Depends on the contract. I have done contracts where I've brought a whole watercolour set with, and I've spent the contract doing little paintings. I've not brought any of my art stuff with this time. This time I brought with my notebooks, and it's much more about writing. Sometimes I do poetry, sometimes I won't write poems for more than a year. Sometimes I'll just sit. I remember going to Lanzarote one time. I just brought my notebook off and I sat on a bridge. I just said, for the next hour, I'm just going to write about now, whatever is happening right now. So it's purely like pages and pages and pages of just description. And then when something changed, so did what I was writing about. And it's interesting for me to read just as an exercise. It's not the sort of thing I would publish because it goes nowhere. But the depth of the description, because you wouldn't usually write pages of description. So that's the sort of thing I like to do. Sometimes though it's just about letting loose, singing. I went, where were we the other day? It was in Auckland first day. And I went to the shops, and then after the shops, I thought I'd just get lost, I'd just go on a walk. And I went on a walk, and I went along the sort of port front to an area which didn't look so nice, it looked more industrial, and then I saw that there was a path through a park that went up the hill, Constitution Hill I think it was called, and then it ended up back in the centre of town, at the top of the town.
The Victoria Park.
Yes.
Yes.
And so as I was walking through I was like, there's no one around, I think it'd be okay to have a little concert. And so I just started singing. So there's always a way that it will just sort of erupt out in one way or another, whether it's music, whether it's writing, drawing, chatting and laughing. I just think, and this is where I think this job suits me quite well. You can't fake it for 4 months or however long it is. So you've just got to be real. And I'm lucky that this job suits me so well because I'm just doing what I would normally do. I just happen to be being paid to do it.
Right.
It's the exact same thing as I would do if the ship wasn't there. I'd still be doing all of the things that I'm doing on the ship. And so I'm just lucky in that sense.
What makes your sister funnier than you?
She'll be delighted with this. Wow, what makes my sister... the only thing that makes her funnier than me is that my parents think that she's funnier than me. No, she's... I don't think she'd stand up and tell jokes. She's just funny in herself. You'd have to ask my mum actually on that one. She's funny in terms of she'll do impersonations. Okay. She'll do silly. She was one in the kitchen doing silly dances in the kitchen to keep us all amused. I don't think she tells jokes though, but she's just got funny bones. But she doesn't try, which I think is where that's the successful part of her funniness. She doesn't try to be funny, she doesn't tell jokes, she just makes people laugh.
So I heard you over the Bing Bongs, that was the first time I heard you, and then the next time I heard you, you shared that you were looking for a partner, and if any of us could help you, you would welcome that assistance. And since then I've heard
And have you helped?
Hey, I'm doing my best work right here, brother.
Here's the list. I hate the swipe. The thing I'm looking for is somebody real, somebody in real life. I think this whole swipe culture has led people to think that there are so many more options out there than there are, and that you can create this designer person who doesn't exist. You end up talking to somebody on the app that really you're just talking to yourself. You read it in your own voice and you fall in love with yourself. Well, what's the point of that? I've already done that. Oh dear. I'm looking for someone who challenges me. In what I do, I'm a fairly confident person, and I'm a fun-loving person. I enjoy what I do. So I realise that I'm an outgoing person, and so I think I need somebody who's willing, A, to match me on that, but also to put me in my place when I need to be put in my place. Not everybody would. If you're on stage all the time, people, and you should never believe your own hype, which is something why I want that person to challenge me. People look at you and go, oh my gosh, you're on stage, you're performing, you're like, well, it's the same conversation I'm having right now. I just happen to hold a microphone in my hand when I say it. And not everybody sees it that way. Some people idolize this moment of glory in the spotlight. The spotlight's very inconvenient. It means you can't see the people that you're actually talking to. I want somebody who will challenge me, but who's interested in some of the same things as me, but probably interested in some stuff which I'm not interested in, because that's how you learn. And relationships I've had in the past, I've always come out of that relationship with something new, a new hobby or a new interest. And I hope that I also have given that to them. Yeah, it's a give and a take, and if and when I have my next relationship or my final relationship, you never know. I'd like it to be something where we build together.
Yeah.
But I couldn't tell you what she looks like because I just don't know. My friends and family would say I've got a type, but I don't agree.
Okay. What's the type?
Put it this way, every girlfriend I've ever had has been short with brown hair. Admittedly, that's many, many girls. So here we go, bring the big punch.
And I think your relationship with your mom is complicated, but I think your mom is probably the person in your life I would most like to meet, even more than your funny sister. Probably one of the most moving things that has happened on the ship. You talked about your family and sort of the way that they influenced you, and particularly your mother, and that she has a lot to say about a lot of things. In the telling of that story, Daniel, you really became emotional, and you shared that she was a very successful woman, career-oriented, and I think probably met your dad, and you came along. This weight of your existence in her life dawned on you or felt heavy, that made you look at your mom, and I don't know if it was differently or looked at circumstances differently. What were you feeling? And
she is the person to me. I say that I've got all of my mum's best qualities.
Yeah.
I've also got all of her worst qualities. I'd say I'm very similar. She's probably been the most influential person. Her interests in writing, theatre, have come straight to me. She left school and went straight to her dream job at the BBC. So she taught me through that line of things the stubbornness of, if you want something, you can get it. You just need to make sure that you really want it, and then you go out and get it. And she went out and got it. And I do feel it. I feel a bit sad, sort of realising that she went out and got her dream, and then that dream maybe didn't last as long as it could have, or she might have wanted it to. Then I realised as well, because somebody came up to me after that event, and they said, well, you realise that you were also part of her dream, and she wouldn't have done it if she didn't want to, in that sense. And that's true too. And I think it's not just my mum, my dad as well. They've given me everything I could possibly have dreamed of. And I'm not saying that in a spoiled way, because I didn't have every toy I wanted, because they taught me that part too. I had every opportunity that I could have wanted. whether that was in performance. I went to National Youth Theatre in the UK, which is sort of the major youth theatre company in Britain, and they supported me in auditioning for that, and then going to the training, and then doing the summer seasons, and then they were pushing me further than I was ready to go at that point, and then they're saying, well, you've got this amazing opportunity, but you're not using it. And they were right, I wasn't using it. And looking back now, I could have done so much more with that. My mum was, one of her favourite catchphrases is, well, I was right, wasn't I? And yes. She was. I also, I think, needed to learn it for myself. When I went to university, they knew, I think they knew, and yet also they slightly didn't know. They knew that I was academic. But when the school phoned them, and you sort of alluded to this earlier, when the school phoned them and told them that I wasn't academic, the first thing they did was sit me down and tell me that the school's concerned that I'm probably not as academic as I think I might be. To which I then look at them with the eyes that they've raised me to have, saying, that's nonsense. I can do it if I want to do it, and I'm going to work to get there. So she's, and my dad too, but my mum, I would have to say, takes the lead on it. She is the biggest critic and challenger, but when you ask me what I need in a person, and I say I need someone to challenge me, she challenges me, so I can't complain about that because it's what I'm asking for. I do need to be challenged, because every time I've been challenged, I have exceeded both what I thought I could do and what the person challenged me said I could do. And so it works for me. They're like a trampoline, and sometimes you jump on your trampoline. And unfortunately, that's the way trampolines work. But that trampoline gets you higher. It has to give a bit of itself to get you there. And so I can't fault her for that. We definitely have our moments, and we're very intense people. We both very strongly believe what we strongly believe. But I know through and through that everything she does is for the best for me and my sister. And so when I have to take a step back, I do see that.
Yeah.
And I do then have to admit that, yes, she probably was right. It is up on the fridge actually at home. It's it's signed. I was wrong. And that's signed and dated.
What will the world know you for?
Oh, what will it know me for, and what would I like it to know me for? Are very different things. In a way, and this is going to be an odd answer to the question, in a way, I would prefer the world didn't know me. In a way. The reason I say that is my dream growing up, then there's still a bit of that dream that's alive. That dream never dies. Is to be a children's television presenter.
You have a relative who was...
Yeah, in Australia. Yeah. And that has been burning in me for years. Since I was 10 at least. And then I sort of realised at one point, if I achieved that dream, two things. First, what happens then? Fear of achieving the dream.
Yeah.
But second is, do I have a life anymore? Do I have my private life? And I am quite a private person in some ways. I'm happy to open up with people who I trust and I enjoy spending time with. But I also want to be able to walk down the street. And I started to be a little bit worried about would I be able to walk down the street if I achieve success in that area. And that's had me looking at other ideas where I can use the same skill set and the same love of people and connecting with people and sharing stories and inspiring and exciting people in a way that I'm less visible. And so possibly radio. That's why I'm exploring at the moment the writing, presenting on cruise ships. I love doing. I love the fact that I meet people from all over the world. I love that I'm traveling to different places, so the stories always change. And I love that I get that moment of that dream that I dreamt growing up, but I also get it within boundaries. The chances of me walking around at home and being known by everyone is small. Although I was walking in Manchester, which isn't my hometown, and I just heard this couple saying, "That's the guy from the ship, isn't it?" And I turned around and I go, "Oh, hello!" Very quickly working out who are you and which
What
ship. And that was an amazing moment.
Yeah.
It was very funny, and
Yeah.
and we had a good chat. But if that was all the time,
Yeah.
I imagine that I might find that oppressive. And so that has made me concerned about achieving the dream that I've always dreamed. And it's not that that dream isn't there. I'd love to do it.
Okay.
I don't know if I'd love the consequences
Yeah.
of doing it. But yeah, the writing, radio, travel-related stuff, and really what I would like is, rather than the world to know me, I would like the people, meaningful people, to know what I do, and to connect in with it and to feel it's authentic, and to share those stories. It's probably bigger praise for me if somebody goes on and says, "Oh my gosh, I've got to tell you this story about blah, 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 blah." They don't even need to say that I was the one who told them the story. It's the fact that that story has continued on. And if we sort of bring that back to where we are now, in New Zealand, with the Maori culture, it's an oral tradition. Stories and legends are passed through, and every time one person tells a story, they add the next bit to it. And so the legend becomes more legendary.
Sure.
So the best way, in my mind, to be known is by the stories I told, rather than me, myself, and I.
Daniel's really important. He's really going to do big things. Daniel, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
This has
Thank you.
been-
To get more of Daniel's humor, insight, and travel experience, watch the others in our series with him, including his experience with Holland America as a cruise and travel director, his career as a travel writer, and his insights into the idea of the psychology of travel.